Emmett was born the 25th of July, 1941. And it was a very difficult birth. He was a breech baby, and they had to get him turned around and so forth and so on, which caused a whole lot of misery and pain. He was the happiest baby in the world. It looked like he said, free at last, I'm here, I'm free. And nothing fazed him. By that I mean you didn't have to hold him and rock him and pet him. If you gave him that bottle or made sure he was dry, you could put him in his bed and he would lie there and kick and coo and for hours. As he grew up, it was more like we were sisters and brothers almost, because my mother raised him while I went to work. So it was like he was hers, and I knew I was hers. And we had fun together. We laughed together. We never did much fighting until he and I moved alone. And it would become necessary to discipline him ever so often.
I don't know if prankster will be the right term or not, but I'll just give you an example of his fun, loving ways. Once we were in Chicago with him, and we were walking down 63rd Street in St. Lawrence, and he yelled out, "Here are my two big cousins from the suburbs. Nobody can beat them up." So we grabbed him up and shut him up right quick. So that was fun to him, but it wasn't so funny to us at the time.
Emmett was mischievous. He liked to play, and he had no sense of danger. Everything was funny to him. And he shot some firecrackers within the city limit, which was a no-no. He didn't do things like that, but to him, that was funny.
He was a very nice, intelligent young man. I call him a young man because he was at that age, you know. He was very intelligent, he was sweet, and he was lovely.
He was very good in art, and he was very good in science. I don't know, he seemed to unravel that science like nobody's business. He was very good in spelling too.
The life for African Americans in the South during Jim Crow was as close to a repressive regime as you could imagine. Blacks could not eat at public restaurants, couldn't rent hotel rooms, literally had to ride in the back of buses or public transportation.
We couldn't get a drink of water because how thirsty we were. Unless we found that colored water fountain, we couldn't get a drink of water out of a fountain. Our school term was from 4 to 6 months a year, and we had no busing. There were no buses that bused us to school. We had to walk to school 3, 4, 5 miles, whatever, just to live from the school.
African Americans were forced to live in certain communities, and they had to develop within that community. And there was not much difference between segregation in the South and apartheid in South Africa.
Life for Blacks was one of seclusion and of being in every way, shape, and form treated as less than human, less than equal.
Blacks in those days it was against the law to say yes and no to white folks. And if didn't, then you could be beaten and even killed for saying yeah and not calling him by his name.
African Americans had no protection from the law because in most cases they could not vote. And if you cannot vote for the sheriff or the police officers or the mayor, then they do not have to loan any type of assistance to you. And therefore, African Americans lived in this constant fear of something happening to them and they're not being able to react.
My brother was beaten almost to death in Jackson because he went to Walgreens and sat down to have a Sunday or whatever he ordered. They beat him almost unmercifully right here in Jackson. I guess I can't really describe how impoverished it was. No matter how wealthy you were as Black, there weren't many wealthy people anyway, But those who had little money, they were no different. You're just another nigger.
My grandfather came to Chicago in 1955 to a funeral, and my mother and them allowed me to go back with him for vacation. And so Emmett found out and he wanted to go. There were some questions of whether he should go or not, but they finally let him go.
Oh, that day will live in infamy, so far as I'm concerned. I got up that morning, and for some reason, we couldn't get out of that house. We were supposed to meet Moses down at 12th Street Station. We could hear the whistle blowing as we got to the steps. He tore up the steps. I said, wait a minute. I said, you didn't kiss me goodbye. Where are you going? How do I know I'll ever see you again? And he said, oh, Mama, he really scolded me. And I wondered why I said a dumb thing like that. But he turned around, came back, he gave me the kiss, and then he gave me his watch. He said, here, take this watch. I won't need it where I'm going. And I said, okay, I'll wear it. And I put it on. And I said, what about your ring? Because I'd given him his daddy's ring. First time. He said, well, I'm going to show this off to the fellows.
They always kind of prep you for going to Mississippi, made you very aware of what could happen and what the South was like. And so I was very much aware of what could happen while we were in Mississippi. And I don't know if Emmett was told or not.
That summer when Emmett and Wheeler arrived, it was the beginning of the cotton harvest time. During the day, we would pick cotton all day.
I wasn't old enough really to pick cotton. Emmett wasn't either. So we just played around in the field most of the time.
We picked cotton all day. After the weighing up, well, after we finished picking the cotton, we had our supper. Then we decided to go to the little country store